Hello YouTube, I'm Arend Peter. This is part of a series of videos where we're trying to discover how to be informed. In the previous video, I brought up the phrase, ignorance is bliss. The sentiment around the phrase is that people are happy being ignorant and they're too selfish to learn about problems beyond themselves. Although I think the sentiment is an oversimplification, I do think there's some truth to it. There's an ongoing debate about whether humans are fundamentally selfish and to what degree this influences our decisions. If we're honest with ourselves, I think we can all agree that our selfish interest is at least a partial motivator for our decisions. For this series, I'm going to simplify things by assuming that humans are purely selfish, and hopefully we'll find that even under this extreme, it's still in our best interest to become informed. Let's try the following thought experiment. You're walking down the street and you see a homeless person. You feel there's a problem here, but most people just walk by and continue with their lives. Personally, my thought process is usually as follows. I know there's probably something I could do to help, and that's not necessarily giving money, by the way. And I wish I cared enough to do that. But if I'm honest with myself, I don't really care enough to stop. My own life is more important to me at this moment. So it can be difficult to admit, but the summary of my feelings would be, I don't care. When trying to deal with this issue, we can try to suppress that feeling and pretend that we actually care, but I think a better strategy would be to embrace it. If we embrace the fact that we don't naturally care about things that are external to us, then we can start devising a strategy for how to systematically adjust our mindset. Even though we're naturally self-centered, we're able to operate in a seemingly selfless way when it relates to people that we're close to. Examples include family or close friends. We interact with these people enough that we empathize with their problems. So, since we personally feel their pain, it becomes trivial to do things in their interest rather than our own. The whole problem can be summarized as us versus them. If someone is part of the us group, then we're able to act in their interest as if it were our own. If they're in the them group, then we don't act that way because we don't have any empathy for their situation. We've essentially fully dehumanized them, so it's pretty easy to ignore them without feeling a moral crisis on our part. I've set this up with homelessness as an example, but other examples could include politics, religion, racial tensions, or even lighter examples like fans from opposing sports teams. The us group are the ones that you'd be willing to help, but at a more fundamental level, they're the ones that you respect and can empathize with. Overall, becoming more comfortable with the I don't care feeling means we don't have to let the guilt become a barrier to us. In the previous video, I mentioned we should actively reach out to people with different perspectives, the them group. But when I do this, I think it would be a lie to say that I do it because I truly care. Initially, I reach out to people purely because I want to become more knowledgeable. I'd say it's closer to a morbid curiosity rather than actually caring. Throughout the series, I'll be bringing up several reasons why I think knowledge is a selfish motivator on its own. As we work with more people, we'll slowly learn to empathize with them more, and at that point, they'll move from the them group to the us group. And we'll be able to care for them as we do ourselves. The next barrier we'll be tackling is intimidation. We've established that there's a lot we don't know, and it's understandably overwhelming seeing the entire list of areas we need to focus on. In the next video, I'll aim to remove that barrier as well. For today's recommendation, I'm listing a Kurtzgestat video where they show how you can use selfishness as a motivator for altruistic behavior. Be sure to see the link in the description.